everybody, welcome back to the Jensenry YouTube channel with me, Jen. Hope you're all doing okay. As you can see, had a slight background change, so I am still in the kitchen, but the table has now been replaced for a sofa. So to finish off the plants and growing theme that I've had running all the way through March, I had to share with you this lovely sensory make. This is going to be one of those resources that you will use time and time again for lots of different purposes. You can use it in songs, you can use it in multi-sensory stories. It's just one of those ones that you can just have at the back of your cupboard to just whiz out whenever you need it. And it uses things that are so easy to find, so cheap, and great to find at this time of year too. So whether you're working with learners with visual impairments, multisensory impairments, PMRD learners, learners with ASD, neurotypical learners, I would strongly recommend just going for bigger props. Not necessarily just because they're easier to see, although that is obviously a consideration. It just brings a sense of awe and wonder to what you're doing. It brings a storyland magic to what you're trying to bring. And what that does is just create a little bit more curiosity, a little bit more focus from your learner, and just bring in that sense of almost Gulliver's Land sort of magic to it. And there's no real other reason to do that other than them being easier to handle, them being easier to see. But I just think sometimes it's worth challenging that idea that you want to just bring some magic in for the sake of magic. I think if we're looking at it from a practitioner perspective, sometimes you're just kind of looking at the learning outcomes alone and you kind of tick the box and you kind of go, right, yeah, no, I've got the opportunity to meet that outcome and I'll do that and I'll look for that and I'll look for that. Sometimes it's worth just bringing the magic purely for the sense of magic. So with that in mind, I've gone for a big flower pot. The bigger the better really. This one was £1.50 from B&M at the minute, so it is a great time of year to make these sort of resources. They've got all of their garden stuff out at the minute, so yeah, highly recommend just popping to B&M and getting this kind of stuff now. Now to my big pot, I've added one of these. Now this is a hanging basket sort of liner really, and they're great. They smell really lovely, so you get a kind of earthy smell off them anyway, but you can trim them down, you can cut them up. They just make a really nice sort of soil substitute, and the great thing about them is that you can poke holes in them and sort of thread things through, and that is essentially what we've done. Now I've also found in B&M at the minute, again £3, really good, 6 metres of artificial decorative ivy, and this is great if you're doing kind of plants and growing, any of that kind of stuff. You can kind of wind it round children and pull it round and stuff, and it's just a really nice resource to have. So yeah, I thought that was really good for £3. Again, not endorsed by B&M in any way, shape or form, wish I was, but yeah, that's a really good buy at the minute, so I strongly recommend getting yourself loads of that as well. And all I've done with this is just cut a little hole in the top and threaded some of that through it. Now I've threaded it in such a way, as say they're so easy to cut through these basket liners, but what I've done is I've done it in a bit of a hoop, okay, because what we have created here is something that can be pulled and then create a really lovely visual movement based beanstalk. So if you're doing Jasper's beanstalk, if you're doing Jack and the Beanstalk, anything that has a sort of growing theme to it, this is a really lovely resource. Now I have done this in a hoop for a reason, because what you can do then is get your learners to kind of grab onto it. If they're going to struggle with that, you can loop their hand in it and then they can do a bit of lovely sort of proprioceptive gross motor. And what you're going to get when you pull this is just a sort of lovely like growing plant that just gets longer and longer, and there's so much, I mean there's 6 metres worth of ivy in this, but what that's just going to do is create a lovely big visual awe and wonder resource. So as you can see, this is a very visual and movement based prop. Now, as I mentioned, it's got a loop in it. So what your learners can then do is be part of the story. They're being part of building the beanstalk, making the beanstalk grow. And what it's also going to do is promote that lovely sense from an engagement model perspective of realisation. there's no kind of telling what's under here at the minute. And I guess that's a really nice thing to promote that sense of I can create magic. How often do our learners get an opportunity to go, wow, I've created something that's amazing? And you can really, really hand that up and really celebrate that in your learner. So, you know, if your learner's holding on to this and you've got the pot, even if they're really struggling to pull it, just that tiniest little movement, you can really celebrate and pull the pot out and go, oh, Jimmy, you really made it grow, because it's just celebrating, again, what that learner can do, and they've become a really integral part of your story. Just want to mention here as well the importance of using props that have that little element of surprise to them. Now obviously this isn't actually that much of a boring prop on its own, you know, even as a little sapling it looks really, really pretty and quite engaging. But having that element as well of just, you know, surprise and awe and wonder like that is going to promote persistence in your learners. Now obviously from an engagement model perspective that's great because they're holding on, they're pulling, they're working it out. But from a well-being perspective that's going to promote a sense of hope too, because actually with surprise comes that, hang on, there are things that happen that are positive when I try. So obviously that's going to promote those lovely skills in your learner of, I don't know what's going to happen, and actually if I try my best and I really, really persevere, I might get a reward, because that's what that is. It's a visual, lovely, lovely reward for them. And we want to really promote that in our learners so that we can not only try with this kind of an activity, but just try in all aspects of our life, because they're going to be rewarded when they do so. So at its core, that is it. I told you it was a super simple one, didn't I? To add a little bit extra awe and wonder, I'm going to bring in my Aurora light. If you've watched Gentry videos before, you know how much I bang on about these. I've had this for years. It's called an Aurora Master. I don't actually think they make these exact ones anymore, but you can find loads of them on Amazon now. And they're just so great. They're battery powered, and they just, you can go through loads of different effects and stuff. They flash, you can do kind of green stuff, red stuff, blue stuff, underwater stuff. They make a beautiful pattern on the ceiling, but I use them often in things like this as well. So I'm going to pop it on green. There we go. And then you can pop that in the bottom of your pot as well. Ooh, I'm getting tangled up in it. You can pop that in the bottom as well, just for an extra bit of wow. And pop that on top. And then, when you pull it out, you've got an illuminated beanstalk. £1.50, £2 I think. Granted this was £6, but I'm sure you could probably find, you know, shorter versions of it on Amazon for even cheaper. So probably in total that's going to cost you maybe a tenner at most. But as I say, it will be one of those resources you will just use time and time and time again for all kinds of different songs and stories, and you can just whiz it out at springtime every year. Sometimes they're great to make for an enabling environment as well. If you've got like a garden role play area or whatever, you can do lots of things about length and that kind of stuff as well if you've got learners who are ready for all of those early maths things. But yeah, at its heart, it's just a brilliant sensory resource. And that's it. So please, please, please tell me if you use this one, if your learners love it. I love hearing from you, because that's what Gentry is all about. It's all about those learners, all about those kids. So yeah, please do tell me if you use this one and it's successful. And that's the plant and growing theme done for March. If you liked the video today, please, please, please do give it a thumbs up down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, if you'd like more ideas like this in your life. I'll see you next month for a brand new theme, but until then everybody, take care.